So now we're live on YouTube. Getting ready to go live on YouNow. Yes, there we go. Oh, the video just went way down. Yes, now we're live on YouNow, and looks like we're live here on YouTube. Okie dokie. Got a few minutes here before the show, so let's hang out. This is pre-show. Has been a little bit of a what you call it, a work in progress this week. Still trying to figure out. I think there's maybe some problems with my soundboard, so I'm trying a different route, and my computer doesn't like it. Well, not really my computer. My computer is fine with it. It's just my YouTube wasn't liking it, and YouNow didn't like it either. So that's what's up. But we got all those things figured out, and I think it should sound a lot better this week, audio wise. Figuring some stuff out. I think we're just gonna once again I don't know, try doing this thing. I haven't got anybody to ask any questions, unfortunately. Of just trying to get people to ask questions at this little bit of, like, I guess you call it a pre-show. But yeah, so because no one's asked any questions, I haven't answered any questions. It's kind of simple as that. Okay, so I'm getting the YouTube chat room pulled up. So we got that. Okay, so now I can see the YouTube chat room, YouNow chat room, and I'm getting ready to get the Mixler chat room. Mixler chat room is up. And then here in just a couple minutes, we're gonna. Okay. Got some water today. Water today. Okie dokie. I think we're going to. Well, it's 8:30. We're gonna start. This is Pete's Tech Den, show number 23. Moving right along. It's like it's been really quick. Here's where we talk about taking old tech and using it for new purposes, like taking an old computer, repurposing it, and using it for something else. Basically, we're talking about taking what other people see as trash and oftentimes throw away and making it into our treasure. Um, and then also talking about just in general how to take and do tech on the cheap. And then occasionally we kind of dive into some moral issues and stuff and come at it from a Christian perspective because I'm Christian. And that's what we do. But you can find us out at, if you go out to the website, petestechden.wordpress.com. All the shows get posted out there. And usually, they have a live page. We're having some issues. But I got that set up last couple weeks. Hopefully, that live page will be updated again starting next week. Not next week, 2 weeks from now. Because that's one thing gonna mention is usually this week and last week have been a little bit different. Usually we do this every Friday at 8:30. Last couple weeks we've been on Saturday, right? Two or 3 weeks. I think this third week on Saturday. Because of conflict changes our schedule, scheduling conflicts. But I just want to mention that next week we will be off for the 4th of July. I will be traveling and we will not have a show. And then the week after that, stay tuned to the website for updates on that because I'm not sure whether we'll either do it Thursday or it'll be normal Friday. But I'm not exactly sure. Got something else going on that weekend, so I'm not exactly sure when I'll be leaving for that. And then as always, you can send me any kind of questions, technology questions about the shows, ideas for the show. Yeah, anything just show related, technology related. And I will try to get back to you about those things. But you can email me at pdenner@outlook.com. You can find that out at the website too on the contact page. You'll also find us out on YouTube. The YouTube channel is Pete's Tech Den, or out on Mixler, also by Pete's Tech Den there. Which reminds me, I forgot to start the streaming out to Mixler. So get that started here quick. That is rolling. Okay. So you can find us on Mixler, or we also broadcast out at YouNow. That's just broadcasting, no recording or anything. Yeah, under PTD. And last few weeks we used the hashtag ask_questions, trying to get somebody to come on somebody's questions, like technology related, trying to do something like that during the the pre-show. But tonight I wanted to discuss this topic of uh, free software versus paid software. Um, it's something I'm hearing a lot about between a couple of podcasts that I listen to. Well, actually, several. There's several podcasts I listen to over at Jupiter Broadcasting. Um, they're very Linux focused network. Um, I'm dealing a lot with open source software, free software, that kind of stuff. And then been hearing about some over at Home Gadget Geeks on the other side. This idea of, you see it, you kind of have your several different categories. I guess you've got proprietary software paid, where you're paying for it, like something like uh, I'm trying to think, like Windows or which I can think of another good one, like Adobe's Creative Cloud, or you know those kind of things. And yeah, like free softwares that are like you can get it. And also with Adobe, you can get like Adobe Reader. It's free. It's still proprietary. They still not going to give you like the source code for it. But it's free. Or I mean, you get stuff that's like kind of like open source, where it's like Linux. Linux is open source. I'm trying to think of another good open source. I feel like I've been messing around. I think LibreOffice, I think is open source. And they also get things like Apple announced that Swift, their programming language, their new programming language, is open source, where they're going to basically give out the code and let other people work on the development. I mean, they're not necessarily, those people aren't getting paid, but they're um, they're putting in their time, kind of volunteering their time to work and develop some software. Um, and because of that, the whole nature of open source, it's free too. And then you have things like that are, um, the term kind of is used like freemium, where it's like there'll be like a free option, which a lot of times will be uh, kind of paid for, with uh, like doing advertisements and stuff. Like thinking like something like Spotify, where you have a free option where you have to listen to ads every once in a while, or you have a paid option where you get no ads. They get rid of those, but you're paying for it then. So it's that kind of a discussion. And um, you know, over on these podcasts with Jupiter Broadcasting, um, I've been listening to what is it? I guess Linux Unplugged, Linux Action Show, and Tech Talk today. And they very much push this whole idea of open source software, and it being free. You can get it for free, um, and they kind of want to. They think that's the way, software wise. That's the way the world should go. The world should go, so that you know we just have everything with open source, and do away with this whole proprietary thing, proprietary software. They think is awful. And so you have that. Um, and then I was hearing uh, over on Home Gadget Keys, where they actually thank people for not making their software free. And in some ways, oh, I just realized I noticed I had a shadow on the side, or no, this side of my face. But because they're almost wary, a little bit wary of like something that's free. Um, Kind of some of the reasons, like you know, I mean, when something's free, I mean, sometimes you get what you pay for. Um, so it's like, it's not always the best. And if somebody's, basically doing something for free, then it's really easy for them to go, I'm done with this and move on to whatever's next and whatever catches their fancy next. Or for, companies to go belly up because, when you're when you have a company and you're trying to, I mean, your company's built around developing the software. I mean, your company has to make money in some ways, um, some way to stay afloat, to pay the people to develop, to um, you know, to pay yourself to put food on the table, that kind of stuff. You know, and so it's like I've been hearing like these two like kind of clashing ideologies, I guess you call it. And so I was like, I guess this it's kind of just be uh talking this out because I'm just kind of thinking this through, and because I think like when we're trying to do things on the cheap, you know, we're we're gonna be drawn. I mean, we're gonna be drawn to those free softwares. I mean, and I mean, I can say I am using a lot of those kind of like those free softwares. I mean, just looking at my computer to see what I mean. Almost all the apps on my computer either came with the computer or were free. Let's see what else what I got on here. Yeah, I think there's one app on my computer that there's one that I bought, and then there's I guess there's like one. I guess there's a few. 'Cause I do have iWork, which I bought. And then I also have Pixelmator, which I actually don't use as much as I would. I haven't done a whole lot with. But pretty much everything else is free. Like, so yeah. So I mean, you can kind of, I guess, by my actions, I've kind of in the past. I'm not sure what I'm going to do going forward. I in the past, I've very much leaned toward free software. I mean, free open source software is great. I mean, I love my Mac, but I'm going to use a whole lot of free software on it. Um, part of that is trying to live cheap. I guess is what it is. But I mean, I just want to quick stop here and kind of go through and talk a little bit about. I mean, I guess no, we're just gonna go with it. We're just gonna go with the flow. Um, but with free software, it's still being developed by companies, but you're not paying for it. I don't know. I don't know. I've been kind of struggling with it because trying to think of it from like a Christian perspective. Um, I guess the passage that keeps coming to mind. I should quick pull this up. But is where the Bible talks about. There's a passage Jesus talking about uh, where the kind of the owner of a field withholds the wages from the workers. Okay, so maybe it wasn't in. Maybe it wasn't Jesus. It was. Oh, here it is. No, it's actually James 5:4. Where James is talking about. Uh, it's right at the end of James, and he's kind of giving this warning to the rich, which you know, some of it depends on how do you classify rich versus uh poor, I guess. I mean, when it comes to America, I'm probably lower, but if you compare us to the world, then it's like, well, okay, man, now I'm rich. But he's talking here. It's come now, you rich, weep and howl for the misery that are coming upon you. Your riches have rotted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver have corroded, and their corrosion will be evidence against you and will eat your flesh like fire. Really pleasant sounding. You have laid up treasure in the last days. Uh, Behold, the wages of the laborers who mowed your fields, which you kept back by fraud, are crying against you, and the cries of the harvester have reached the ears of the Lord of hosts. You lived on the earth in luxury and in self-indulgence. You have fattened your hearts in a day of slaughter. You have condemned and murdered the righteous person. He does not resist you. So, I mean, I guess it's just thinking of like by. I guess it's not so much which one's better. I mean, that's in this case, it's like, you know, it's it's like, you know, if I just use somebody's software, um, who I mean, they are putting it out there for free, but like, I mean, some of these places like, oh, I saw it somewhere where I was downloading Linux. That was what it was. It'll give you like an option to like donate, like, um, because that's how they kind of like they support um what they're doing and stuff, and like just using the software and not donating is like, I guess it's just like something I'm thinking of. It's like, does that kind of like that almost seems like the same as like withholding them you had these people you did work for, um that did work for you, and then you withheld they mowed your fields, and then by fraud you withheld their wages. I don't know if it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, technically, say they're putting it out there for free. They're, um, you know, so it's not like you had like an agreement with them to pay them some. But at the same time, like I feel like maybe if like I don't know if it's different, like whether you're like say you're using a piece of software in say your business and you're making money from it. Like, is that any different? Um, than if you uh like if you're just using it for personal use, not making any money off of it, like, um right? I'm running several Linux servers here in my apartment. Not making any money off of them. Got a print server. I've got a Mythbuntu box right on my TV. Um, but yeah, like, so I'm using it. I'm just not making any money off of it. I don't know if that's any different. I'd be interested. I've got one person out here on YouTube. I'd be interested to see what you guys have any thoughts on this. So make sure if you want to kind of fire back through any of the kind of chat functions either on YouTube, YouNow, or Mixler if you have a Mixler account. This is kind of, I don't know, this past few months, not few months, like 6 months. Wow, I've been doing a little bit of thinking as different things have come up, and just trying to think through. Well, it's this really simple phrase. So what would Jesus do? Which when you first, you think about, okay, what would Jesus do? That seems really, I mean, a lot of you, pretty much probably everybody has heard of it. For most people, it's kind of just like a trite little saying, and um, it's like, yeah, on the surface, it's a very simple statement, but underneath, if you begin to think about what it really means and all entails, it's um, there's a lot to it. And so I've been kind of exploring that, and I mean, this is one of those things. It's like, um, what do we do? Because I mean, there's people who say, you know, it's like, well, free software is gonna be hard to maintain, um, but like it uh, it can't be trusted as much as a paid software is. I mean, which to some extent makes sense, because if you're paying for something, um, there's gonna be you're gonna be able to expect a little bit more on the support side, um, because you're paying them money, so I guess so is how you've placed a value on it that's higher than free, and so you're gonna have higher expectations for it. Um, whereas I guess free software, you're not. Although, like, kind of the benefit like open source, which is the kind of the subcategory of free open source, where you're kind of putting that code out there, is then you have a whole lot more people looking at it than just the people that are in your company. You have, like with Linux, they've built a huge community of developers who work on it, and who find bugs, or you know who write code for it. So you get a lot more eyeballs on it, and so that can benefit and make it better because you have more people. The more people you have working on it, the more ideas you have. And so, I mean, that's part of what's made, I mean, Linux as good as it is. Um, and so, like, I mean, the one guy out at Jupiter Broadcasting, I guess the way he suggested it was like, um, it was something where basically, you could either pay X number out if you're gonna have to pay X amount of money. I think he said something I forget what it was for. I feel like it was for Office, maybe. Um, but I don't know. It was something he had to pay out like $400 for. And he's like, "Well, there's this other option over here. It's an open source, free software. Um, why don't you get this? Then when you get it, just make a say a $200 donation to him for every user. So you'll be saving money, um, saving like 50% in what you pay, and kind of helping them out too. Kind of kind of that idea where you kind of like it's donating money. Because the guy when he first mentioned it, it's like, well, if it's free, how can it be any good? Because it's like how much we in America, how much we pay for something kind of helps uh, place a value on it, or um, like or how much someone else will pay for it. Um, you know, because you're gonna treat say an iPad, you're gonna treat it a little bit differently than you would like that like $60 Android tablet. You know, just because of how much you paid for it. I mean, and then that, and then you're also how much you like it, how much you like using it, how useful it is to you. Um, and so he's like, so I guess what he was saying was is like making this kind of having the customer put a price on it is it's like as a company, okay, we're gonna put this price on it, thus we'll feel better. It'll help us see more value in it. Um, which is like that's okay. They just I don't know. They see this idea of like I guess it's almost like this utopia. I guess you'd call it. For them would be when everybody switches over to just all open source software, and I guess I'm not quite convinced that we could go that route. Um, because I don't feel like people are going to be able to. Um, I one thing I don't think all the software we have that we need to have out there is going to be able to be, I guess, supported. I don't think enough people would donate to support it. Um, but it's like on the other hand, it's like you have Linux, and I mean, Linux is doing it. I mean, you have some really big companies built around Linux. Like one to talk about recently on the podcast was Red Hat. Um, so I mean, it's that I don't know. It's an interesting idea. I mean, I don't know. For me, it kind of like I guess it reminds me of like uh, I've read some on George Mueller and what he did with he did an orphanage. So, a little bit different, but he kind of stepped out and was like, "Okay, God, I'm gonna let you provide for this." Like they wouldn't talk about any of their money needs. They wouldn't ask for money. So I guess we even one step further than what something like Linux has done, where I mean, when you download, it does ask you for money. Um, so it's like, um, where he stepped out and to, once a year they would kind of open their financial books and just talk about like how God stepped up and provided every time, um, which is, I mean, it's super cool. I mean, I was kind of finally like, oh man, I really like to live like that, like to see those times, just time and time again. Yeah, to me that sounds really cool. Would love to be a part of something like that. Um, but at the same time, it's like, okay, so that's that. It it survived. It blossomed in incredible ways. But on the other hand, it's like, is that possible? Is that possible to do with and kind of, yeah, maybe, yeah, the technology companies are going to ask for money like Linux says, but is that going to, you know, I don't know if that's going to fly with everybody, or is it going to be something more? I guess, I mean, you could go something like, especially like looking at Linux, operating system wise. I mean, you could almost go to something where it's like, uh, kind of you almost package the deal. You uh, you kind of package the cost of the operating system just into the computer, and then you kind of give like what Apple does. Apple's doing with free upgrades to the next operating system every year, as long as your computer is new enough to support it. Um, they've gone to this model of just free, and I mean, in some of the ways that's why, because they're making enough money off of the computers. I mean, they build high quality computers, but they also are not cheap. So it's like, okay, um, so yeah, is it? So I guess I mean, there's really two questions. Is it feasible? Do you think it's feasible to go to completely open source software to where you could donate to pretty much anybody? When you download their software, you could donate to them, but it wouldn't cost you anything. You could you could, I guess, we'll just start with free. We'll start there. Free software. Do you think that would work with people? Like, do you think that would work in the world that we live in today? And I think no, I don't think it would work. I don't think I don't think enough people would. Um, as like people talk about like I was thinking about like Android and they're an Android user, is a lot less likely to pay whatever. I think it was like they're talking about like $5.99 for an app, as opposed to like somebody on iOS. They were talking about, because Android kind of breeds that feeling of it, things should be free and that kind of stuff. Where you don't see that as much on it. iOS, I feel like I have an Android phone and I have I have a iPad, so I'm kind of in both worlds. Um, but I feel like I'm I feel like I'm that guy. I don't really want to pay anything for an app. Although, kind of ironically, on my Apple account, I have money sitting there from my when I bought my Mac and got like a free gift card to the App Store. So like, I still have money there that I could use, I could spend, and I just don't because I don't spend the money. I don't want to. Um, because there might be something else coming that I really need, kind of a thing. So I guess I guess I'm in that I guess right now I'm in that camp where I don't really like unless I have to pay for some kind of software. Like I'm not going to. I mean, up until today, that's where I've been. I'm now after thinking this through, and trying this. I mean, doing some thinking about it now, talking about it. I've been. I'm thinking. I'm considering whether to actually go out and donate to some of these places to kind of just break down and pay for things. I mean, because like at in some ways, you kind of, I mean, you want people to continue to develop the software that you use, and I guess one way you can encourage people to do that is to you know pay, give them money. Say, hey, you're doing a great job. We appreciate what you do, and give them you know so much. Um, I was trying to think. So there was another question. There was what we just talked about with um, are we able? Are we? Could we? Can we sustain it? I forget what the other question was. I should write these things down. I don't. Um, but I feel like some of this, like, kind of sticking with this question of can we sustain it? Like, I feel like some of this is like it's really close to, I guess you call it, I mean, socialism or com. Not not that it is that, but it's close in its the way it thinks about things. Like, cause like with communism, the idea is you kind of put everything, you kind of everybody does their work, and we kind of put it into a pot, and then we kind of divvy up and give it everybody what they, everybody gets an equal part. So I guess I mean it's not quite that, because I mean if you go out and do a terrible job, develop this terrible app, nobody's going to use it, no one's going to donate money to you. Um, so it's like, yeah. So it's in that sense, it's not going to be. I mean, you're going to have to develop a good app that people are going to use, and then that they're going to use enough that they're going to want to donate money to you. So I guess in that sense, it's not. It's close, but I don't think it's. I don't. I feel like we will always pretty much. There's um I feel like there's pluses and minuses to it. Because, like, I guess with the whole like socialism, it also is close to it because it's um thinking about it, it's like because like, hey, uh I may donate it back to Linux, but that doesn't like I may donate some money back to the software, but if it's like open source, it may not go back to the person who put the effort into it. And so it's like they'll still benefit from it if they use the software, which if they're going to develop for it, they're probably open source wise, they're probably using it. They're going to benefit from having whatever that new feature, new solution is. Um, but any kind of monetary benefit is probably not going to go back to them. So I don't know. Whereas, like, I mean, if you go out and buy a copy of Windows, or I guess if you go out and buy a Mac, um, part of that, they're going to get paid. I mean, they're not going to they don't get every, um, all of the money that you pay for that. You're paying for that piece of software, but they're going to get paid. They're going to get a benefit. They're going to be able to continue to really support themselves with as much money as they're putting out there. So I mean, in that case, I think I'm gonna have to research that because I really be interested to see um with the open source software, how much of the money that they get back, how much of that gets kicked back out to like developers and stuff who are developing the software. I mean, obviously, some of it. I mean, obviously, the company, like for like Ubuntu or like Red Hat, I think are a couple of the big ones. Obviously, they have some of their own developers who are working on these things, and uh, so they're obviously going to be some of that money is going back to them. I'd be interested to see if uh, if any money ever makes it back out to the developers who aren't directly associated with the company, whatever it is. Uh, if they ever seen a kickback, or if it's just seeing the benefit from, hey, the software works better now, kind of stuff. I mean, in some ways, I guess that's one way of, you could say, giving back to the company who so I guess that's another part of it. Like, you could be, instead of donating money, it's like, okay, I'll donate some time and work on developing your software. I kind of feel like there'll probably always be a mixture of the two. And I definitely think that if you're going to use software and make money from it, like say your company does audio editing and you're going to use Audacity, you know, maybe you should, you know, I think you should kick some money back to them and be like, hey, you're helping me out, helping me make money. I want to help you out, kind of a thing. I think if you're gonna use Linux in your company, I feel like you should kick money back to them because it's helping you out. Um, And I don't know. I think if you're maybe, I think I may. I feel like maybe if you're gonna use it at home, if you just need it for one thing, maybe you'll use it and you're done with it. I think that's one thing to maybe just use it for free. If it's something you use extensively, maybe you give them a one-time donation. I think I think I may do that. Um, but yeah, so I guess that's my thoughts. I guess on it. I don't think we'll ever probably fully switch to kind of this open source idea. Um, just because I think in some ways making something proprietary can help, I guess, secure your investment in something. That's another part of it is like for like I mean, it already happens somewhere you see like especially amongst like say like Windows and Apple, there's times where they both or Google, where they kind of you're like, oh, I remember seeing that feature on on Windows or oh yeah, Google did that already. Kind of stuff where you kind of see them like kind of like borrowing. I mean, they usually each have their own kind of take on the idea. Um, but I mean, they still had to put, I mean, work development into it. I mean, um, but because I think that the whole proprietary and copyrighted, the code that you written uh, helps protect against people, taking and benefiting from you, taking your code and then benefiting from it. Um, which is kind of the whole idea of copyright is to copyright it so someone can't kind of come along and oh, there's your idea. I'm gonna steal it and take it off and go make money from it. Um, so I think there'll be a mixture, but I think it's definitely something to think about. I mean, to really think about uh, I mean, the technology that we use, and I think making sure that when we do something and we use it and like it, I mean, you know, as possible with the money you have, making sure that you kick back and uh, you know, show those people that are putting in the work that you appreciate it. I think that's my idea. If you guys have any ideas on this whole, we should talk about this topic on of like free software, open source, uh, freemium software versus like paid proprietary software. Yep, any of this, shoot it out in any of the three kind of chat rooms, YouTube, YouNow, or Mixler. Um, it's like we got somebody on YouNow. I don't know who. They're keeping their identity secret. But if you have any questions, any thoughts on the whole like free versus paid software? Um, would you donate? Would you donate to a piece of software that was open source You get it for free, but they ask for would you donate, or would you just use it for free? I guess I just put that in chat. I guess I don't know. I didn't think about it. Somebody asked me a question on, or Slug of Beds asked me a question on you now, and I could have just answered you back. It's Pete's Tech Den. It's a podcast. I just broadcasted out on. Been broadcasting out last few weeks on you now, and then also on YouTube and Mixler. Discussing free software, paid software. Can we go to all open source software? Should we kick back? Should we give back to the free software companies that we use their software? Yeah, that's what we've been discussing. But yeah, wow, hours pretty much gone. If you have any questions or any comments, you can always send me an email over at pdennert@outlook.com. Always happy to answer questions. But yeah, actually, I had something else I wanted. I was planning on mentioning it at the beginning, but I completely spaced it because I forgot to pull up my notes. But let me quick pull those up. Because on a couple of episodes, I talked about this whole the Intel was releasing their like a little computer stick that you could plug into like a USB port and not USB, HDMI on your TV or monitor, and it would have a full full copy of Windows 8 on it. Was the Intel Compute Stick, which I talked about. So it's like you could get, I think it's the Windows version was like 140 with the Linux version for like 120, I think was what it was, if I remember correctly. See if I can pull this up. I think it was something like that. But maybe it's like 150 for the Windows version. Let's see. Looks like. Okay, see. Oh, I think maybe I found the article that. Okay, so 150 for the Windows version, 110 for Linux, and it was like right after that the Microsoft had announced that they were releasing the releasing Windows 10 for the Raspberry Pi 2. But yeah, so just recently, along that same kind of line of thinking, I wanted to see was in Lenovo decided to get into the game and put out their own little computer stick, which specs wise, I think it's about the same. I was trying to see what. I think it's about the same. Let me see once it pulls it up here, because the Intel stick had 2 gigs of RAM to 32 gigs onboard storage with an Atom processor. I think the Lenovo stick had, I think it was up to 2 gigs. Yeah, 32 gigs and an Intel Atom processor. So it's pretty much the same thing. There's one HDMI port, one micro USB port, and an SD card reader. So I don't know if it's any different there. Looks like it's got. It doesn't look like it has an SD card. It says also, you'll also see rebranded editions of the Compute Stick floating around from other manufacturers. That's probably what. Because the Lenovo one looks a little different, but it's about the same. So they're about the same. The Lenovo stick is $130, so it's about $20 cheaper. But I don't know. I mean, they are a little bit more powerful than the Raspberry Pi, but they're also a lot more expensive. But yeah, so I just seen that this week, and so figured I'd throw that out. Kind of fits in that market of what we got look for. But yeah, so it looks like pretty much everybody's tail off. But yeah. So unless anybody has any kind of questions, you can throw them up. Mixler, YouTube, or Mixler, YouTube, or you now. That's the three. I think I'll shut this thing down. Hopefully you found this discussion, this topic kind of interesting. But yeah, this is what kind of what I was thinking about this last week, and I was like, boom, it sounds like a great topic. I think something interesting, something to think about. Definitely, because I guess while we want to be cheap, but at the same time, I don't want to end up at the end of at the end of my life with a ginormous bank account because I've been saving all this money. Like, 'cause I feel like there's a difference between just saving money to save money and uh, just making sure that every every penny that you spend is being productive, is being used to the best of its ability. And so, you know, you know, some of that is just, looking for ways that aren't necessarily like I think it was James talked about um yeah, you have lived on the earth in luxury and self-indulgence. Like it's like I don't want that to be a description of my life. Like, it's like I want to do cool things with tech and have fun with that. But I also don't want to be just focused on me so much. Like some of it's like looking at ways to help to where you may have to give more money. You have I guess you know the solution isn't cheap, but it helps other people. Times and some of that. I mean, some of that's like I mean is help. I mean with other people like helping other people. Some of that is helping those people who develop the software you use. Um, so it's like, yeah, I think that's something. I think it's something as believers we want to look into, and I think look at doing. But that's my 2 cents on the topic. Hopefully, it wasn't completely uninteresting. Hopefully I gave you some food for thought. Probably next week will probably not next week. As remind again, no show next week. Taking the week off for 4th of July. The week after that, hopefully I will probably be back to probably looking at some software of some sort. I don't know what. We'll see. See what we got on the docket. More like what we have on the list. Um, yeah, I might look at Sophos next 2 weeks, tentatively. But you will have to come back next week to figure out about that. So now we come to the end of the show. Hopefully you learned something that'll save you some money and help you help other people and use your money wisely. Till next week. Okay, Mixler just closed up. Got did my hour that I had on there. Do a little bit of post show, kind of as I guess shut things down. Kind of similar to the pre-show, I guess. I don't know. No, don't close that. Any questions? Questions? Nobody out there. Any questions? Questions? begin to shut things down for the week. Well, I think I'm gonna go because there ain't no questions from anybody. Nor is there anyone to ask